Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Neha Mishra, and I'm going to be the moderator for this evening for the panel discussion that we're going to have on the topic Thinking Parenthood Beyond Biological Boundary. Before I get to the topic and we get to the panel discussion, I first want to thank Epinomi Consulting, a consulting that is into learning and development. They provide learning facilities and workshops and events, and they provide skills to corporates, to educational institutions, and they also engage in mentoring and executive coaching. So, this is a lovely opportunity for me to be moderating this panel discussion, which is mind stirring, of course, but most importantly, it's on a special occasion that is of Mother's Day today. I would like to thank all the mothers a very, very happy Mother's Day. In fact, I would like to congratulate everybody on the journey of parenthood. I would like to also thank and congratulate plant mothers, pet mothers, all of those mothers who have the feeling and the nurturing capability, because I think that's what is most important. And now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce you to our panel who will be actively involved with us in the next 1 hour of time that we're going to have this conversation and hopefully be able to come up with some perspectives that will help us all in growing the society together. Now, I just request all our panelists to please keep your videos on. You can permanently keep your mic muted, and you can unmute yourself whenever I ask your name, and I would refer to you, and I would want you to contribute. This is only to keep the online platforms are all new for us. We're all getting used to it, and it's very difficult sometimes to manage the drama that online platforms create, right? So yes, that's my request. Now, a special request to everybody who's attending this today. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be certainly taking your question and answers. We have a panelist, and we cannot let this panelist go without answering your questions. The only request I would have is that please keep your patience game right on. And in the end, we have dedicated 10 to 15 minutes to only answer your questions. And still, if you have questions that you do not want to ask on a public platform here, but you do have those questions, you are most welcome to send me those questions and at info@epinomi.com. My team is also here. You can put any questions on the chat, and we will make sure that we come back to you with your answers within 48 to 50 hours. So, on that note, I have this wonderful panel already in front of me. I don't have, yes, can I just quickly see if I have everybody? Oh, fantastic. All right, great. So I would like to welcome you all, and your introductions have been shared on all our social media platforms, and with the kind of time that we have in hand, we will keep them real and keep them short, because at the end of the day, what you're going to contribute here will talk about you more than anything else.
Saransh.
Okay. So, all right, like exactly what we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep yourself muted at all times. That's my request, other than the panelists. All right, with that, I want to quickly welcome Dr. Sabeen Parekh, who heads the Fortis Mental Health Care, wing of Fortis Hospitals and Chains. And he is very well known. Of course, we all know about him. And so we are absolutely looking forward to hear some of your pearls of wisdom. I would like to welcome RJ Akansha here, who is with us all the way, joining from Bangalore. She's with Fever 104, and she has had stints in television, into media, and today she has graced her with her valuable time. So thank you, Akansha. I would like to welcome Nancy Katyal, who is with us, who's an executive coach. She works extensively with people to guide them onto their executive journey. She has been a mentor, and she works very closely also into the social line. I will now like to welcome Sham Konur, who is with us. Sham, thank you very much for doing this to us with us, and you've been kind enough. Sham is the founder and director of MIST, which is the LGBTQ collective community, and also Mr. Gay 2020. So fantastic on that achievement, Sham. Wonderful. I would now like to welcome Mr. Nasir Sheikh. He is a co-hotelier. I am also a hotelier, not as experienced as he is, of course, but he's a co-hotelier. He has led the chains of Western hotels and very closely worked with Marriott chains of hotels. He has won accolades and whatnot you call. I was seeing his profile, so impressive. And I was like, which award should I mention? Because he has so many. So welcome, Mr. Sheikh. I would now like to welcome Professor Yamini Prabha, who is the professor with Alliance University. She has excelled in the field of law. Apparently, we happen to be really childhood friends. We've known each other from standard sixth, I believe, and she is one of the leading persons when it comes to the legal outlook and bringing up the legal perspectives of our upcoming generation. So thank you, Yamini, for your presence. Really appreciate it. I would now also like to welcome Sonia Konjeti. I know Sonia as one of the first few people I got to know when I came to Pune 4 years back. Sonia leads a Pula group of women, of ladies. She's the founder of Pula Group. She has been called by from Facebook to various other organizations. She's been a panelist left, right, and center, and she's been doing this like a pro for years now. More so ever, Sonia represents a community of large community of women, who share their things blindfoldedly with her, and they trust her so much and her community of Pula. Um, I would also like to mention and welcome Shweta Munjal, who's the leading person when it comes to corporate outlook. She's with Niyara Energy, and she is also the communication head, the India VP for the company. And I come from the communication field as well. And when I spoke to her for the very first time, I said, "Hey, my energies have just vibrated, resonated so much with her." So thank you very much, Shweta, to come here and to also represent the corporate side, in this panel. We would be really looking forward to get some information and some more insights from you. All right. Now, I'm just quickly seeing, have I missed mentioning anybody? No, I've not. I have everyone here. Great. Fantastic. These are always very jittery moments, no, when you see each other online. So anything can happen. Please excuse me if there's something that goes wrong from my side. Just please excuse me on that. So, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you, wish you a very happy Mother's Day. And I would like to take the privilege of starting this panel discussion. I'm actually tired of speaking. I should not be. I've been doing it for years, although. But I would like to start this panel discussion with this. Parenthood is a blessing for all those who have wished for it, and also for a lot of those who accidentally fell into it, but started enjoying it in the journey, along the process. Now, however, we also live in a society which doesn't allow you to call a spade, So before I get further into this mind-stirring discussion, let us start understanding a few views on this point, which I have. This is where I'm going to start. Is that in Indian society, having a baby is the very next step considered after marriage. It's very obvious to have a baby after marriage. What next? Okay, we'll have a baby now. So on and so forth. People take their own respective time, but that's considered as one of the first things. Now, here is my question. I want to know from each one of you, and I'll refer to each one of you one by one, but I want to know from each one of you that when do you think is the right time to get into parenthood? Who takes the decision? Who decides that now is the time? Now we have done X, Y, and Z, and we can enter into parenthood. And especially when there's a responsibility of bringing a new child, a new life into existence. So I'll start with Dr. Parekh on that. So please tell us, what do you think about it?
No, I think this one's an obvious one. A child is brought in by a couple. Both partners should be equally prepared, should be wanting to be involved in parenting, and they would be in a position to give their time, energy, invest into taking care of a child. And if they both feel they are in that space, they should go ahead and do this. That's the only way to look at it. One partner's view over the other partner or any external factors do not have any role to play.
Perfect. So, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Akansha, coming to you.
Well, as very rightly said by Dr. Parekh, I also second that. But there cannot be a fit to all formula for this. If a couple decides that after 40 they have the time to nurture the child, yet they will not have the energy. But I would still suggest them that time is more important than energy, then go for it. So it all totally depends on a couple's choice, their financial situation, their current situation, and the environment they are living in. So that's how I would sum up.
All right. Thank you. Shyam, over to you.
Yeah, I think all the two important points were discussed, but I think it's very important for any couple. I don't think it's necessary. It could be even a gay couple. You need to first realize that, are you ready? Are you both prepared to take it? It's not just one person. Even if it's a single parent, the person should be ready financially, because we know the generation is changing. Even a schooling for a kid has become so expensive now. So we need to plan it very well before we go ahead and bring a child into this world. We need to remember that it's not us, we are also affecting another human life.
Absolutely. All right. Great. Nancy, let's hear from you as well.
Very well said, Shyam. What I believe is that parenting should be a proactive choice and not a default choice. And it will be unique for everyone. And we all have been told this: parenting is a gift. No, parenting is a responsibility, right? Because when you have a gift, you treat it the way you want. When I like the gift, I will play with it. And also, we need to re-look at the words responsible parent, nurturing parent. I need to just ask myself, am I ready for the joyful, bumpy ride? Am I ready to nurture meaningful experiences and not fulfill my expectations to my children? And if I'm ready for that joyful, bumpy ride, I am ready.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. All right. Shweta, can I have your views as well? Shweta, you will have to unmute yourself. Please unmute yourself as yes.
Thank you, Neha. I think very valid points said. I'll just like to kind of reiterate and reinforce some of the things. Obviously, very important for the relationship to be very tight. I think the couple should be ready for shared parenting, and I quote unquote shared parenting because it's not just one person's responsibility. The other most important things which I personally resonated very well was, you've got to be psychologically ready for it, right? Are you really excited about parenthood at this time, or are you doing it because, oh my gosh, it's been so many years and there's a lot of parental in-laws pressure, etc.? So this is one of the other things. And of course, we live in a very different society, but I'm really talking generically. I think the third most important factor for me was how emotionally ready I was. What was my emotional maturity at that point in time? Was I ready to deal with my own, anxieties, my own stresses? Had I grown up to that aspect? And, when I actually thought I was, is when I actually moved into parenting and a happy parent now.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think very apt. I would like to hear from you, Mr. Sheikh. What do you think about it?
Firstly, good evening to all of you, and Neha and Economic Consultants, thank you for organizing this very, very meaningful conversation, and I'm thankful to the panel that we have together today. It's a very knowledgeable and insightful panel. Sharing my viewpoints on it, first and foremost, it's going to the topic, right? Biology is something which is the least that has to do with parenting. We're talking about couples being ready, but we need to remember that it's not necessary that there is a couple who has to take that decision. It could be a single parent, it could be individuals, it could be a single mother, it could be a single father taking that decision. And it's very, very critical to understand that it's a very, very personal choice. Means it's a choice that is depending on you. You need to be both financially ready, you need to have the maturity, you need to see that you have the time, you have the support system sometimes. Will you be able and are you ready to bring a mini you into this world, into your life? Because it's not necessary that you're getting a new life into the world. It could be a child that is already there. You're adopting the child, you're bringing him into your life or her into your life. So are you ready for that mini you to come into your life? Then are you ready to change? Because that mini you is not going to change. The mini you has his own or her own individual needs. They have their own style, they have their own patience, they have their own way of communicating. So are you ready to make that change in your life, to accept that mini you in your life? Because what you do with that mini you will define how happy, how sad, how successful, how scarred that life of that mini you is. So I strongly believe that it's a decision which is very, very personal. Take your time. When you're ready to make that choice, go ahead of it. And like Nancy said, are you ready for the joyful bumpy ride?
Absolutely wonderful. So let's come to hear from the legal expert. No, I don't want you to really say legal things. That's just because I know her. She's my childhood friend. So Yamini, over to you now.
Yeah, thank you, Nia, for this opportunity. I would like to second Mr. Nasir's thought on this. See, love and parenthood has nothing to do with the biology, and it cannot be. Love cannot be biological. That is the first thing. And to decide that what is the right time for the parenthood, I think we need to come out of that sexual politics, basically. We need to forget what is femininity, masculinity. We need to keep those things. We need to come out of that stereotype and have a more egalitarian approach. That is, we need to have a more equalitarian approach. It's not necessary that we have to co-parent. Might be there are people who want to be the single parents. There are people who do not want to have a partner, but yes, want to have a child. We should have a inclusive society in that sense. We should respect their thoughts. We should respect their dignity and their choice. And yes, one thing which I think generally all of us agree on one point, there is no right time. The moment you think that you have that space in your heart where you can nurture the child, where you can upbring up, because it's a huge social responsibility, I would say. You are getting into a society, a socially responsible human being. So are you ready to take that responsibility, not for your personal joy? Keep the societal perspective at large, because you are bringing somebody in the society. So yes, it's not that there is no straitjacket formula. There is no right time. It's when you think that you can take up the responsibility, when you have that space in your heart. And yes, one thing that I would like to initiate with this talk, and I think that's the noble perspective behind it, let's come out of that stereotype of femininity and masculinity. That's an individual choice. Yes.
Wonderful. I think we will have, of course, a lot to talk about this in the next few minutes. Let's hear from you, Sonia. What do you have to say to this?
I absolutely agree with a lot of people, who've just spoken here, and there's definitely no time frame. I know that my mother-in-law conceived her first kid when she was 15, and I conceived when I was 26, and my friend is 34 and she's conceiving now. So there's definitely no, specific age to conceive a child or to become a parent as such. And there is no specific rule book which is same for everyone. Everybody has their own ways. So definitely, one is there's no specific time. Second thing, of course, as everybody said, you need to be financially independent or be ready to upbring the child. But somehow I feel, when it's the time to have a child, everybody's very scared because it's not just a piece of cake which you're going to eat and it's going to get over. So they're never ready. We are never actually ready for the child. But when it happens, I think gradually things fall in place. So I somehow feel that yes, things fall in place once you go for it.
Lovely. All right, great. Thank you, guys. I would like you to mute yourself once again. And wonderful inputs over there. Now, of course, that drives me to the next question. And the format of this will be that I would be putting across a situation, a question, and then I will refer to you. And when I do that, I would want you to please give your views on this. So here I go. For the sake of everyone to connect with this, and Bollywood has always been one of the things in a lot of people's minds. So to lighten this up as well, recently there was a movie that released, and Good News, which a lot of you would have seen. And in the movie, they glorified the idea of IVF, the conception through IVF. And I personally felt great that they've started talking about various methods of conception. But one thing which I felt did lack in the particular movie was that how they really disregarded the fact that and kept stressing on genetical or biological reproduction. They completely disregarded adoption as a possibility. Now, here, this is what I want to say with this little incident or the movie is that we see society is being hypocritic and unconsiderate towards the choice individuals make when it comes to choosing the whether they want to choose parenthood or even the medium of choosing the parenthood with. So now, yesterday I was speaking to somebody and she said that how loosely we see comments being passed and people saying things for adopted kids or for even IVF babies. A lot of times when you don't have a baby, you see comments hearing, "Oh, you don't have a baby, how would you know?" And you suddenly don't have right to comment on anything that is about parenting. So it boils down to the natural conception, and which I feel is something which is less spoken about. I would want to open this question to Sonia, to you, because you head a community of women, and I already see there are so many anonymous questions that women asked and the kind of stereotypes they deal with. So, Sonia, your views on a situation like this?
Thanks, Neha, for the question. And there's something that I always feel that no one can judge you or pass comments on what your choice is. You want to have a baby, you don't want to have a baby, it's absolutely fine. And we all should learn to respect. I have definitely seen a growth and I have seen the progressive path where a lot of people are changing the Indian mentality that we come from, that a happy family is a family where you get married and you have kids. That's how people start quoting, "Acha, fir tum sukhi sansar ho," because you have kids. But I think it's a choice now that you don't want to have kids. It's absolutely fine. You want to go for adoption. And I think a lot of people are going for it. And it's a wonderful thing. And even if those who are not wanting to have kids, they are helping to not grow the population, So it's absolutely fine about what they want to take and respect it. Rather, a lot of movies should be made on that topic, as you absolutely said that they did not consider adoption, which was a very, very good choice that they could have done. IVF is a stressful medium of having kids, and a lot of mothers emotionally go through that line because everybody, see, let's understand, everybody wants to have their own kid. It's a little different, when they say it's my own kid, but then yes, when finally they're unable to conceive, they do think of adoption. And even I know there are a lot of couples who say that we just don't want to have a kid because we want to focus on a career, or we want to roam around the world, we don't want to take responsibilities. And I feel, yes, that's fine. We should learn to respect everybody's decision, that it's absolutely fine about what you decide.
Right, fantastic. Dr. Parekh, I would want to come to you from here. I have a question from you, Dr. Parekh. Now, I have seen personally, and we all go through when we have friends who are either taking this route, or even when you read for that matter, there's a lot of mental stress that that parents go through, that individuals go through when it comes to taking a route which is non-biological, or even if it's biological, it is the new with the new technology. That's through surrogacy or through IVF or even adoption for that matter. So there's a lot of mental stress that they go through. There's a lot of trauma that they go through because what society creates. I mean, you had this for such a long time. You're such a pioneer into this. I would want to know your views of how can those people overcome this stress, or how should they even look into a situation like this?
No, I think two aspects to this. To say that society creates is partially true but partially incorrect, because it also comes down to the individual couple. It also comes down to their own support system. And individual personalities also tend to respond and react very differently. To say that all people who go for IVF or all people who go for adoption have to go through a stress is also not true. Yes, the percentage of people going through that would be more. And it's natural. It's natural because you've been wanting to do something that means something, in this case, parenthood. And since it is not happening, so obviously, the thing of your life, you would start feeling the pressure by your own selves as well, and the concern that comes, or the worries that come with it. And because IVF as a process is also not something which can always get right the first time around, and whether it is even going towards adoption, all of these are decisions that you reach after, for most people, where you've tried the conventional biological processes. So, because once your mind is made up and then you want to go ahead with it, and then when ups and downs happen, stress is human. So our approach here is to give these couples the comfort and confidence. More important, to be able to decide whatever they think is right for them, but ensure that during this process, their relationship is not affected, their well-being is not affected, their occupational social functioning is not affected.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. A lot. Nancy, that brings me to you. I remember we were having this conversation over phone, and we said that how much ever we have people supporting us, within the family, a lot of times, the external society, the corporate organizations for that matter, the corporate environment, or the environment that you deals with regularly, it just doesn't let you be. So do you want to, on the same topic, what's your view? What do you want to contribute?
Sure, thanks, Neha. And the very fact that we're having this panel discussion shows there's a lot needs to be done, right? And I see Sham smiling. That's an acknowledgement of what I have said. And also the fact, Neha, that blaming and shaming in any which way has never helped any individual, any society at large. And I feel that educating people, and I must congratulate you and Epinomi Consulting for bringing us together, because the more we educate people, the more people will understand this concept. I'll give you an example. It doesn't stop with just whether you're a parent and if you have a kid. I can tell you from my experience, I have a 15-year-old daughter. People never asked me, when are you going to have a second one? They asked me, when are you going to have a boy? So you cannot say that it stops the moment you will have a kid. To my friend who decided not to have a kid, and she's adopted her sister's kid as her own. However, at office, she's often asked, why can't you stay back? Because you don't have a kid. Kya karna hai ghar jaake? You don't have extra work. To each its own. So I think the very fact that there is blaming and shaming, that is not helping anyone. So I believe that more we educate people, because people are not even aware that they're blaming and shaming. I think it starts from there.
Right. Right. Fantastic. That's a wonderful viewpoint. I mean, to even call out that these things exist is quite brave. So, guys, congratulations. And I'm so thankful to you again and again. Yamini, that brings me to a point. I have been reading it myself. But I'd like to ask you this. Can you take us through any progress that has happened, that has been made in the legal aspect for parents choosing adoption, or single, parenthood? So as an adoption or with other of these surrogacy or IVF, is there any new progress legally that has happened?
Yeah, sure, Neha. So, see, as of now, I would say that when it comes to the surrogacy, I would like to quote, it was a 2009 Law Commission report where we have collected the data and we came to know one thing, that India is the most exploited country when it comes to surrogacy. I'll repeat that India is the most exploited country. Reason is because considering the one major thing, the poverty that is there. So especially the Gujarat as a case study. So normally these fertility clinics or these surrogacy clinics, though they are legal registered, they take somewhere around 5-10 lakhs from the couple who want to have a surrogate mother. But at the end of the day, the surrogate mother hardly gets 2,000 or 3,000 rupees for the span of 9 months. So that is where, in order to curb all these things, yes, the legislation is in progress of coming up with the act. As of now, India has banned commercial surrogacy. You cannot have a commercial surrogacy. So there are very fixed criterias. A married couple, male and female. So we are talking about heterogeneous couples. A married couple who cannot have a child for 5 years from marriage. And once they get that infertility certificate from the doctor, then only they can go for surrogacy. On the other hand, India as of now has completely, they are trying, that's still not a law, debates are going on. They are trying to completely ban the surrogacy for single parents, homogeneous couples, or the live-in couples. So now the option that is left for them is the adoption. So bringing on, like, that's correct, that sounds very fair that we should adopt. There are so many kids who are there, so we should, it's again a social cause that we should adopt them. But I would like to draw everyone's attention on this fact that adoption in India is a tedious Herculean task. You have to file and wait for at least 6 to 7 years to get a child adopted and get in your family. There is a huge paperwork. You need to get credentials. You need to have so many documentation. It's nothing but a Herculean task, I would say. And that is where people give up for the adoption and they try to go for this IVF technologies or this surrogacy. So the point is that in order to resolve all these things, we need to have a very holistic approach. We can't just focus upon, no, surrogacy is wrong, IVF is good, adoption is very good. No, that cannot be the case. We need to talk about all the things in a very holistic manner, and then only we can come up to certain conclusion and resolve these all issues. Yes, India is taking very seriously these surrogacy laws because there is a huge level of emotional and economical exploitation.
Absolutely.
So, if I refer the data, I'm only talking about one state, Karnataka, since I'm residing as of now in Bangalore, so I'm only focusing upon that data. For the past 2 years, Karnataka has seen that around 7,000, to be very specific, 6,650 kids were adopted. But at the same rate, around 300 kids were returned immediately after adoption. Because at times people go for gender-based adoption, certain specific age they want, they don't want a very grown-up child, and these adoption laws, we need to regulate them.
Right.
As per the law, it says that yes, you can adopt, but technicality, how far it is being implemented, that's a great loophole, I would say.
Wow, this suddenly just shook me up with so much of data and so much of, Sham, I want to come to you now. That brings me to you very naturally and to ask you, how do you think are same-sex couples in your community, in the people that, you lead such a big community, how do you think they deal with a situation like this, when they feel stuck?
Yeah, so there are lots of people. Being honest, me and my partner don't want to yet have a child. We want, like someone said previously, we want to first travel around, maybe have some more time, and then think about it. But there are lots of people in the community who want to have a child, even single people who want to have a child. But like already we spoke about law. Law has been first of all, I think if we go to law, it actually hurted a lot of people when the Surrogacy Act recently, I think it's a year ago, which was passed. Because first of all, they didn't have to mention about LGBT because LGBT is anyways not recognized as a couple in
India.
In India. Yeah. So even if they say couples can't adopt, it was more than enough. It felt very discriminative way that it was mentioned. And a lot of people who want to have a child really travel they take chances with their career. They try to find opportunity somewhere outside India just because to fulfill their dream or wish of having a child. They find a job somewhere outside India and settle down there. I think which is a very difficult situation. People should be able to live in their own country to be able to live their life. I'm sure, and I won't say that this will change fast because, of course, we need every change takes time. We need to take everything step by step. We can't just change things overnight, and it's not right for us to expect the government to do everything right away. So I think it's a journey. We will take a couple of years. I'm not sure if I will be there, or any of us will be there during that time, but I'm sure this will change.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, absolutely. I really, we all hope that the things should change and the change starts with us. I come to the next thing that I want to raise up, that as a community, see, we all understood that these are the kind of challenges that we face, and these are the kind of situations we're trying to fight. But as a community, or as parents, as individuals, how can we become more inclusive towards the decision and the choice and the medium of parenthood? Because for that matter, somewhere I've always seen that even as a biological parent, if your neighbor has an adopted child, somewhere even the parents have this kind of thing, that how should we treat this, or should we let our children know about it or no? But overall, as the easier route is that they try to escape it. With that, I also want to refer to you, Akansha, to begin with. You've been a single mother for a few years now, and for 8 years, if I'm not wrong. Is that true?
No, not exactly 8 years,
Okay.
but let's say 5 years.
All
My
right.
daughter is 8.
Okay, all right. So now that you've been a single mother, again, the societal things are such that, how do we bring in inclusivity? Let's start from you. What do you see as a single mother? How can we have an inclusive society towards this?
Well, honestly, the city I live in, the environment I have, single mother, the concept is already very well accepted. I really don't see any kind of disparity that I have to go through. And it's all about you, how you take it. Because I take it in a very, very full of life, with my stride kind of a thing, nobody points at me. If I start feeling that way, I will, it's all in my mind. It's not in people's mind, because people are very busy in their own life.
Right.
So that's how I put it. And honestly, I have never felt any kind of discrimination or disparity. The only thing that I would just like to, put it across in a manner that people sometimes get curious that why are you a single mother, or what happened. Initially, it used to bother me a lot. But now, if I give my own example, curiosity is in human nature. It will happen. It's just that we need to know that that is my privacy line, and I need not to barge in that. That is called, civilization, that we understand. Once we understand that, everything will fall in place automatically. That's the whole point.
Right, that's the attitude we need to build in. Thank you very much. I would like to take a little bit of an understanding from a corporate perspective. And first I'll go to Shweta, and then I'll come to Mr. Sheikh, because both of you are also leading the corporate side of it. You've been doing it. So Shweta, coming to you, how do you think that as a, from a professional side of it, from corporate organizations side of it, how do you think are they taking measures to communicate inclusivity, or are they even discussing this point? Is this subject even a matter of discussion or concern within the corporate world yet?
Thank you, Neha. Akanksha, I absolutely resonate with what you just said. I think we're privileged to be set up in a community and time when I think this has actually become all right. To give you an example, there was a time when I initially started my career where, a colleague of mine was divorced, and the question that was asked to her during HR interview was, so when are you going to plan again? Marriage, family, etc. I'm talking of 18 years back, right? My first job. Those days are gone. I know there were sensitization sessions that happened led by communications HR to say that you have to conduct your HR interviews also, really, really properly. But while corporates are excelling at this and actually really taking the whole the social change forward, things are very different in a government-run organizations. There are still, and by privilege of the role that I have, I get to meet a lot of people, and I work with a person who operates in a PSU bank and 28 years of experience. And she says that she's part of HR team, and she says the men actually ask questions which you want to turn around and just give them a slap and say, oh my gosh, come off ages, right? Grow up. But anyways, I'm not going to speak of those.
On status of society, different status of society. Yeah,
absolutely. I think the real change makers are corporates who are actually driving the social change messages. And because of us operating in a social age, we're actually able to raise our kids in a more inclusive way. Well, I actually speak to my child, showing him areas, and we operate in a society where there are obviously single parents, there are other genders, etc. And we are all open. I have a 12-year-old boy, and some open conversation. There's nothing to talk, hide. This is part of the society. What is most important that I tell them is, you explain the differences, don't ignore them, right? You need to really, really make things accepted rather than just say, oh, ye chhod baad mein dekhenge. Oh my God, this is not something that's your age, etc. I make it part of his literature, the general parent literature, etc., that me and my husband have. And I'll absolutely be honest, a lot of the reflection of what we speak to our children now is a reflection of what we've actually picked up from our corporate setup, right? So part of what HR, communications, leadership is doing is reflecting on how the society is moving. I think I like to just stop at that, and I can go on.
I think fair enough. I mean, 8 hours when you spend that's your second home, or for some of them first as well. Mr. Sheikh, I would like to come to you. You are leading the Lexicon Management Institute, and before that, you were also with hospitality for such a long time, and I know how important that is. The kind of role is, as of now, when you are actually leading a bunch of young leaders, for that matter, how can you share some of the experiences or what you're doing to make the next generation more accepting? Because at the end of the day, the conditioning of our next generation is also what goes years back. So how do you think we can contribute to make them more accepting and inclusive towards this?
So my world's been all around people, right? Be it hotels or be it now where I'm with young leaders, with students. But the next statement that I'm going to be making is a very disrupting one and very different from what the panelists have spoken till now. You must have heard of the Hindi saying, "Ek ne paida kiya aur ek ne bada kiya." Right? It's been something that we've heard since our childhood. So our society has been accepting to that process long, long back. In the time frame between then and now, we have changed it. So it's not that we were not accepting or we were not available to it, right? So we were very, very receptive to it, but we changed that thought process. Somewhere, some stigma, some things were brought into our society. And we need to break those stigmas. And so that's why I say I don't think we need to change mindsets. I don't think we need to change thought processes. Inherently, it is there in us. We need to kind of get that out. We need to help that blossom out. I've been fortunate as a child, and growing in, I've lived and grown in a very, very progressive family, and I have friends who've got children who are close to 14, 15-year-olds today who they have adopted because they couldn't have a child. I have a close friend of mine. She's got twins through surrogacy. I have a friend of mine. She is a single mother. She adopted a child. The child is now close to 6 years old. So I have been very, very fortunate to live around people who have been very, very open in their thought process and have never let any stigmas and any blockages that anybody else has kind of put in come in their way. Saying that, the urban landscape has evolved. Society has evolved drastically. If discrimination, thought processes that, and Akansha said it very, very rightly, that curiosity. Forget about a child, about being a single mother. I'm fasting, and when I meet a stranger sometime, and during the month of Ramzan, I'm fasting. There's a curious question: oh, how do you manage 12 to 14 hours without water? So, curiosity kills the cat. Curiosity is our nature, and I think there are times that you choose to answer, you choose to ignore. We talk about social distancing now. You just need to implement emotional distancing out there. You choose what you answer and what you don't answer, and you choose what you kind of take in. But going back to the little minds or the young minds, I won't call them little, but we've got children who are in KG and we've got children who are in management in our group of institutes. The thought process is about creating an inclusive mindset. It's about ensuring that we're educating our children. Now, my son goes to a school and the school has been sensitizing them. He's only 7 years old, but they are understanding and they're reflecting on what the society around them is. When you go for Joy for Giving, they're able to see people and children who are not as privileged as he is. Yeah. There's a party that he may go to where he will see people and children who are more privileged than he is. It's about being sensitive. And, there are times that, when we are talking and we are speaking to each other, my child and me, we have meaningful conversations. And one of the things that is there, and my father taught me this when I was very, very small, was, Nasir, asking is for free. Ask your question, be curious. The worst answer that you'll get is no, right? So similarly, I encourage my child to ask questions. I encourage the students to ask questions. If I'm unable to answer them, I will get an expert or I'll get somebody who's able to answer them for them. But leaving a blank in anybody's mind, an adult or a child's mind, kind of then creates more questions than from the initial question that you have. So the whole thought process is about how you can embrace, how you can bring people together and look forward to a world that we all want to be happy in and live together. Happiness has been lost, because we are so after all the other things that we forget why our existence is there. Our existence is about happiness. And if we kind of keep that in mind, I think everything will fall in place together.
Right. Wow. That's quite a lot, and actually very true. I think so much responsibility we have as individuals, and to be aware consciously of all of them at all given point in time is a big, big thing to do. And I'm just very curious to ask this question to Shyam before I move to Dr. Parekh for with a new question right after Shyam. But Shyam, I want to listen from you. What do you think that parents or people around you or society around you can do to make their children more sensitive towards same-sex gay couples or gays and lesbians in the community in totality?
So instead of explaining this, I could like to share a story that happened. And this was very beautiful, or I felt very happy and people around felt very happy. This is almost like 10 years ago when we just started Miss the collective. And we were planning to do something where we create awareness. In Bangalore, we were all a set of people who didn't know to dance. We thought, let's do freeze mobs around. So we started from MG Road, and then we started going to different areas. So when we were doing freeze mobs, where we froze in different positions, like a guy is proposing another guy, girl is proposing another girl. So this is what we were doing. And there was a parent, a young parent with the kids, I don't know, they might have been 5 years or 8 years old, very young kids. She was walking with them and the parent asked in Kannada, Mom, what are these people doing? And the parent so nicely explained to these kids that 377 was not passed yet. So she said in Kannada that in our country, same-sex love is not allowed. People can't love another man and a girl can't love another girl. And these people are protesting as love should be allowed for everyone. She explained her kids so beautifully. I think that should be what it is. I mean, we should not hide or shy off about talking to anything. It could be as simple as, I've noticed even if a sanitary pad ad is on television, some of parents just change the channel.
Even now, absolutely.
Yeah, even now. I think that that we need to learn that even if we don't answer, the young kids nowadays, I know my nephew who is like 10 years old. If I don't answer, he'll go search. He knows what Google is already. So it's better we answer them. I think that is what will help. If the kids know that our parents are accepting, then they would also be following their kids. Their parents. The kids will follow their parents. I think that's where change starts. Change starts from us. We can't expect our kids directly to learn it on their own. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Yam. Of course, we feel a little more responsible towards it. And I'm so glad that we have a huge audience today, not just from Pune, but from across India. And I'm glad that all of us are being able to listen to, some of your profound words. I'm moving to Dr. Barik now, sir, almost on an ending note, and then we'll open to some of the Q&As for our panelists. But let's touch upon the mental health for kids in this perspective. For a moment, let's forget about what was the medium that they were born. That's not something which defines anyways the mental health perspective of any individual for that matter. But especially when it comes to children, how do we ensure that they are in an intact household and their mental health is balanced? And as parents, how can we contribute? As society, how can we contribute to that?
I think as far as children are concerned, to them it doesn't quite matter what the process was. We need to understand that. For children, it is about an environment that facilitates their growth, which is conducive, which is positive, where all members present in their environment share individual good diets with the child, and they share good relationships amongst each other, which brings in a sense of self, identity, positivity, brings in values, bringing the skills that empower the child to use this support system as a secure base to go out, explore the world. The world's role is very similar, whether it is the world in terms of direct role models who are recognized, to indirect role models who may be just a passerby, to educationists, to media. All of us need to ensure that the narrative around children needs to be responsible and positive. Our concern is that our narrative that children are exposed to beyond the immediate parents or family is also a concern because it has a significant impact on them. And for us, over the years, I've felt that we are, as a society, becoming a lot more critical about our parents and parenting, and not realizing that parenting is also just one of the vectors that acts on children as they grow up. There are so many other vectors acting. If all of us don't put in our collective value-based force together, it won't work.
Absolutely. Wow. Wonderful. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much to share those things with us. I think with that, we should open the forum for some Q&As.